What up YouTube, Fallout here, and this is the first video in a new series I'm putting together covering Destiny PvP. I'm eventually going to cover every subclass, and today we're going to kick it off with an in-depth look at the Sunsinger, and how to best utilize their abilities in the Crucible. First off, let's talk about the Sunsinger's neutral game. The Sunsinger has one of the best neutral games in Destiny PvP. One thing they do really well is melee, due in part to the fact that the Warlock melee has really good range. In fact, the Sunsinger melee has more range than the Striker Titan, the Gunslinger, and the Defender. Now, if the Blade Dancer has their Blink Strike ability fully charged, the range is a tie. But when they don't have their Blink Strike ability charged and have to use their regular melee, the Sunsinger wins. The Sunsinger melee ability is called Scorch, which will do normal melee damage and also burn enemies for an additional 35 damage. 5 ticks of burn damage at 7 damage each. Scorch has 3 different upgrade options on the skill tree. Solar Wind knocks back enemies when you connect with Scorch, and Brimstone will make enemies that you kill with Scorch explode. Although these can be helpful, they usually won't come into play very often, and I don't recommend them. The third melee upgrade option is Flame Shield, which reads, damaging an enemy with Scorch reduces incoming damage for a short time, meaning every time you damage an enemy with Scorch, you get a protective shield. So how much does Flame Shield protect you by? To find out, I went into a game of Rumble with a clanmate and figured out exactly how many body shots it took to kill me without Flame Shield, and then again with Flame Shield. With my regular health, I was killed in 19 body shots, and with my Flame Shield, I was killed in 28. That means that Flame Shield will roughly give you an additional 47% total health increase. That is an extremely helpful boost. In fact, I tested the defense power of Flame Shield by setting up one-on-one melee fights against every other subclass. In each fight, the enemy had their melee ability fully charged. The Sunsinger, with Flame Shield, came out on top against the Blade Dancer, the Voidwalker, the Defender Titan, and the Striker Titan. The Gunslinger melee fight will end in a tie if they hit you with the throwing knife first. If they miss, they will lose. This is definitely the perk you should be using in PvP. Being able to beat any other subclass in a melee fight is a huge advantage. The protection granted by Flame Shield will last for either 14 seconds or until it is damaged off of you. On the skill tree, there are 2 additional options that you can pick to improve your melee attack. The first one is called Sunburst, which reads, killing an enemy with Scorch has a chance to generate Orbs of Light. To find out what that chance is, I killed 50 enemies with my Scorch melee and made a note of every time that resulted in me generating an Orb of Light. So provided I didn't have some crazy number of loops in my testing, the answer is about 32%. So pretty much just about 1 in every 3 Scorch kills will generate an Orb of Light using Sunburst. That might sound kinda tempting, but that number isn't really consistent enough to impress me. I prefer having perks that work 100% of the time. The other melee upgrade option in the skill tree is Viking Funeral, which reads, enemies you ignite burn longer and take more damage. The regular Scorch damage deals 35 burn damage over time, 5 ticks of burn damage at 7 damage each. Under Viking Funeral, that number changes to 70 burn damage over time, 10 ticks of burn damage at 7 damage each. This is a great upgrade. Any enemy who gets hit by a Viking Funeral Scorch and has already taken even a little damage is almost guaranteed to burn to death. Because this upgrade works 100% of the time, and because dealing out extra damage is always a good thing, this is the perk that I almost always use in PvP. Alright, let's move on to grenades. The Sunsinger has 3 great grenade options. The first is the Solar Nade, which creates a zone that constantly damages any enemy inside. The zone is pretty large and can deal a maximum of over 100 damage per second and lasts for a full 4 seconds. The Solar Nade is a great way to control where your enemies can and can't go. You can keep them from approaching you, or you can just keep them away from a particular area on the map, and that makes them a really good choice for people who like to play control. The next grenade choice is the Firebolt Grenade. This grenade will cause first a small detonation and then automatically shoot out at enemies nearby. It also has the ability to hit more than one opponent. The standard damage isn't terribly impressive, but what's nice about the Firebolt Grenade is that it's very, very accurate. You can use it to damage campers and players who do things like wait for you around corners. The final grenade choice is the Fusion Grenade. This is a really straightforward grenade. Throw it directly at your opponent, and if the grenade makes contact, it will stick to their body and detonate, resulting in a one-hit kill. This grenade also has a tiny bit of magnetism, meaning if you throw it a little bit off target, it will automatically curve directly towards your opponent. This is just a really deadly grenade. If you can manage to be accurate with your throws, even a little bit, you can rack up kills pretty quickly. There are 3 additional options to upgrade your grenades on the skill tree. The first is Touch of Flame, which reads, all grenades ignite enemies, causing damage over time. Picking this option makes your grenades cause 35 additional burn damage, 5 ticks of burn at 7 damage each. But only if you hit your opponent with the initial blast of your grenade. What the hell do I mean by that? Alright, I'll show you. Here I throw a solar nade on the ground with the Touch of Flame perk activated. My enemy runs through the grenade and only takes regular damage. Here, I hit my enemy directly with the solar nade, and because they were hit with the initial blast, they are now affected by the extra Touch of Flame damage. Got it? Good. Since you'll probably be throwing solar nades at the floor instead of directly at your enemies, and since you probably won't be trying to rely on splash damage with your fusion grenades because you'll be too busy trying to get direct hits, Touch of Flame is really the most viable with the Firebolt Grenade, because it's really accurate and will almost always hit. The next upgrade is Viking Funeral, which as we know from earlier, makes enemies that you ignite burn longer. Viking Funeral will only cause extra burn damage with your grenades if you already have Touch of Flame on. So if you have Touch of Flame and Viking Funeral, your grenades will burn for an additional 70 damage over time. Despite that big damage upgrade, the Firebolt Grenade still won't be able to get a one-hit kill on a full health enemy. They will barely live. Even still, it's my favorite grenade to use in PvP because of how reliable it is. If you hit an enemy with a Viking Funeral Firebolt Grenade and they are already even a little bit damaged, you can sit back, put your feet up, and know that your enemy will burn to death. Now, I should let you know that technically, if you hit your enemy with the Fusion Grenade splash damage, and you do have both Touch of Flame and Viking Funeral on, your enemy will burn to death, guaranteed. But I'm usually too busy trying to stick them dead on in the body with my fusion nades to the point where I almost never ended up killing anyone with Viking Funeral burn damage on my fusion nade. But at the end of the day, it's completely up to you if you want to use it with fusion grenades that aren't the Firebolt. The third grenade upgrade option on the skill tree is Gift of the Sun, which gives you an additional grenade. This is really straightforward, really easy, and a great option because hey, who wouldn't want an extra grenade? Keep in mind that if you do pick Gift of the Sun, you will miss out on Touch of Flame. But in my opinion, that makes it a perfect choice for anyone who wants to use the Solar Grenade or the Fusion Grenade. I want to take a quick minute to talk about armor, recovery, and agility and how they all pertain to the Sunsinger in PvP. Armor determines how much damage you can take overall, recovery determines how quickly your health can regenerate, and agility determines how fast you can run and how high you can jump. Despite the fact that we know all this, it's really difficult to know for sure just how much a difference these stats make in the Crucible. Dado, who is a really great Destiny YouTuber, did some testing and discovered that increasing your recovery stat makes a noticeable difference in how quickly your health regenerates, and that there are no diminishing returns for recovery. Having your health return quickly is really important to living in the Crucible, so it's always worth it for a Sunsinger to have a strong recovery stat. Now with agility, the question is, will it make my Sunsinger jump a lot higher or run a lot faster? Unfortunately, no. Here we have a side-by-side display of how much higher you can jump as a Sunsinger with high agility compared to a Sunsinger with low agility. Not that much of a difference. I did a similar test for running speed. Again, not that big of a difference. When it comes to armor and how much damage you can take in PvP, I made a list of 10 guns that are very widely used in the Crucible, went into matches of Rumble with my clanmates, and had them kill me both when I had the minimum level of armor, and when I had the maximum level of armor that a Sunsinger can have. Here are the results. My max armor Sunsinger was able to survive an extra bullet from the Vanquisher 8, Shadow Price, Vex Mythoclast, Shoulder's Hammer, Corrective Measure, Thorn, and the Suros Regime. The reason there's an asterisk next to Thorn is because when testing it, I intentionally waited between shots so that the damage over time effect could be taken into account. The low armor Sunsinger was killed in 2 shots plus damage over time by Thorn, while the high armor Sunsinger was able to survive 2 shots plus the damage over time effect. So even though the bonus provided by high armor isn't that big, in my opinion, it makes a difference. What if you enter the Crucible and both you and an enemy on the other team are using the Suros Regime, and you both start shooting each other at the same time? Your enemy has high armor and you have low armor. If you both manage to land all of your headshots, you would still lose that fight every time because your opponent has the slight edge on you in having extra health. In additional testing, I found that the max armor Sunsinger is also able to survive a Hunter Trip Mine Grenade, where the low armor Sunsinger couldn't. And while using Radiance, the max armor Sunsinger was able to live through a Hunter Golden Gun shot, where the low armor Sunsinger was killed. So, even if the bonus of having a slightly extra bit of health doesn't come into play in every one-on fight in PvP, in my opinion, it's still a better choice than the alternative, giving yourself the option to jump a tiny bit higher or run a little bit faster. I like my Sunsinger to have good armor and good recovery, and for those reasons I like to go with both Arcane Spirit and Divine Order. Alright, let's talk about the Sunsinger Super game. The Sunsinger Super is Radiance, and it does a few things. First of all, your melee and grenades will recharge a lot faster. At 0% discipline, your grenade will recharge in 1 minute. Under Radiance, your grenade will recharge at about 3.5 seconds. If you have 100% discipline, then Radiance will fully recharge your grenade in about 1.5 seconds. For your melee though, the recharge rate isn't quite as fast. At 0 strength, your Scorch will not even fully recharge by the time Radiance ends, and at 100% strength, it will recharge in about 7.5 seconds. Your melee will, however, one-hit kill enemies in PvP if you hit them with Scorch, which is awesome. Every kill that you get while in Radiance will generate Orbs of Light, and finally, Radiance makes you resistant to enemy damage. How much exactly? After doing some testing, I've found that Radiance reduces incoming damage by 50%. Put all of this together, and you get the ability to spam grenades, one-hit melee kill enemies with Scorch, and tank a good deal of enemy damage. All this lasts for about 14 seconds. Kind of an odd number, but there you go. That's why it's really important that when you do activate Radiance, you make it count. There are 3 different upgrades for Radiance on the skill tree. The first one is Song of Flame, which reads, while active, Radiance reduces all cooldowns for all nearby allies, meaning that any teammates near you will have their grenade and melee abilities recharge faster, the way that yours do. How close do you need to be to your teammate in order for them to get this bonus? About this close. Which is pretty freaking close. When they do get the bonus though, you can move away from each other, but not really too far, because moving too far apart will kill the bonus. While this can definitely be helpful in team games, it requires a lot of teamwork and a lot of communication to pull off. Feel free to use this if you have great teamwork and communication with a team, but otherwise you might want to go ahead and pick something else. The next option is Fireborn, which allows you to revive yourself back from the dead by activating Radiance. This is a really popular choice in PvP, but I don't like using it. A lot of times people get so caught up in knowing that they can self-revive that they don't stop to think about if they should. A lot of players will rage revive, meaning that without even thinking twice after being killed, they will immediately pop Radiance, come back to life trying to get revenge, and end up getting killed again. Another reason that I don't like using Fireborn is because you sometimes end up holding onto your super longer than you should, because you're waiting for someone to kill you before you use it. Doing that is a bad idea, because the longer you hold onto your super means you're going to be using it less overall that match, and you're not giving your teammates any Orbs of Light, which is really important. If you decide you do want to use Fireborn, remember to think twice about how and when you use it. If you were just killed by your enemy's Yallarhorn, it might be a good idea to not revive right away. Also remember in team games not to hold onto your super for too long, so you don't end up denying your teammates Orbs of Light. The last option is Radiant Skin, which reads, while active, Radiance reduces incoming damage. Through testing, I've determined that the extra damage reduction with Radiant Skin is about 54% instead of the original Radiance reduction of 50%. Even though it's not a huge boost, I prefer using Radiant Skin, because even though it only further reduces your damage by a little bit, as I've said before about armor, every bit helps. Being able to take even a little more damage in a firefight might make the difference between you killing your enemy or them killing you. There is one additional option on the skill tree that will improve Radiance, and that is Radiant Will, which increases the duration of Radiance from 14 to 17 seconds. Not a lot of extra time, and it's hard to pick when one of the other options on that tree is Viking Funeral. But if your Sunsinger's playstyle is to do as much damage as possible while in Radiance, go for it. One random extra skill tree perk that pertains to your movement is Angel of Light, which allow you to hover in the air for a short time if you aim your gun while jumping. I don't like this perk, as I found I was making myself a really easy target for almost anyone with a precision weapon to take shots at. Not to mention that if you want to pick Angel of Light, you have to give up on both Touch of Flame and Gift of the Sun. Two perks which we know by now are really good for PvP. Alright, let's finish things up by taking a look at my favorite exotic gear that I recommend for the Sunsinger in PvP. First up is the Light Beyond Nemesis helmet, and its unique ability is Keeper of the Pack. You revive fallen teammates faster, and they revive you faster. Your super also spawns additional orbs of light for your teammates. Now, even though reviving teammates only applies to Team Skirmish, it's very useful, and being able to help your teammates get their supers faster by generating more orbs is always a good thing. The other two perks on Light Beyond Nemesis are Infusion. Picking up orbs of light will replenish your health, which isn't really that helpful, and Snap Discharge increases your melee attack speed. That bonus is helpful and is always good for PvP. Next are the Sunbreaker Gauntlets, and their unique ability is Helium Cycle, which increases the duration of your solar grenade. The exact increase is from 4 seconds to 8 seconds. This is an awesome piece of equipment for anyone who really likes using the solar grenades, as it will help you lock down your enemies a little bit better. The other two perks on Sunbreakers are Serpent's Tail, which reduces your grenade cooldown when you cause damage with your melee attack, and Special Weapon Loader, which increases the reload speed of all your special weapons. Both of those are great perks to have in the Crucible. Next up are the Void Fang Vestments. This is an exotic chest piece, and its unique ability is Improved Axion Bolt. Your Axion Bolt grenade spawns an additional Seeker. Why the hell would a Sunsinger care about that? Good question. Even though the Sunsinger can't use the Axion Bolt, the perk also allows you to respawn every time with fully charged grenade energy. That is a crazy good perk, as it allows you to throw grenades way more often than normal. This is one of my favorite exotics for the Sunsinger, and I recommend it really highly. The other two perks on the Voidfang Vestments are Special Weapon Ammo, increases the amount of special weapon ammo you can carry, and Hand Cannon Ammo, increases the amount of hand cannon ammo that you can carry. Nothing to write home about, but still, really great piece of armor. Last but definitely not least, the Claws of Ahamkara are gauntlets, and they have the ability, the Whispers. Gain an additional charge for Scorch or Energy Drain. Considering how great the Scorch melee is, it should come as no surprise that I highly recommend the Claws of Ahamkara for PvP. Having an extra melee charge means you're able to dish out Flame Shield more, and when activating Radiance, you now have 2 one-hit melee kills instead of just 1. The Claw's other two perks are Snap Discharge and Special Weapon Loader. Nothing but great PvP perks on this armor. Really recommend that you use this if you have it. For the record, I don't recommend using Apotheosis Veil, the Heart of Praxic Fire, or the Starfire Protocol in PvP. They aren't bad pieces of armor, but their bonuses are either more helpful for campaign, or in my opinion, aren't as good as the equipment that I have just listed. Here are some sample PvP builds I put together. Remember that none of this should be carved in stone. You should always feel free to experiment with different builds, skill perks, all that stuff. Find what you like and use it. Alright, that's it for now guys. If you like this video, please subscribe because I've got more on the way, and it really does help a lot if you do. If you want to ask me any questions about this video, any of my other videos, anything at all, follow me on Twitter and feel free to just talk to me there. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you next time.